Greetings, everyone. I'm glad you've joined us. I know how valuable your time is, especially right now. So I want to keep this brief, but I wanted to share with you some of the great changes we've made with LaundryMarks. So let's get started. What we're going to cover today is how external benchmarking is essential to laundries and the laundry industry, and what we've changed and what we've retained. So, the beyond our industry, I wanted to kind of start there and focus down. Beyond our industry, it's clear to see that data has played an important role and technological innovations over time. The collecting and reporting of essential data has become easier and more accessible. I mean, think of the way the census used to be reported and the decisions that are driven by those numbers. The Nielsen ratings, you all may remember, I didn't realize they started back as far as 1947, but they did, and they were used as strategies to reach a target audience. So it's not just that we're getting the numbers, like numbers on on-time airlines. Those decisions are used, those pieces of data are used by consumers to make a decision when selecting a flight. And goodness knows, Google Analytics is guiding our lives in our decision making for businesses as to how we reach our target audiences. So data is very important. Laundries are run by the numbers. If you ask any good laundry, what data are you collecting? These items here on the screen, utilities, PPOH, stain, rewash, these are usually the minimals that are tracked. But as we look at this, we have to ask, how are we collecting that data? On utilities, are we actually measuring it, or based on the meter readings, or are we estimating based on percentage that the laundry uses of an entire facility? And then there's that big one, the big one that everybody tracks, PPOH, pounds per operator hour. Who's included in that production staff, that those individuals creating those hours? And do we use consistent calculations? With many of these, there's questions about that. And then lastly, one thing that we have found in our start of LaundryMarks is that, are we investing in reporting good numbers, or numbers that make us look good? Or are we reporting numbers that drive us to making sound improvements? That's a hard question, and that's not a question you want anybody to answer out loud, but it's a good question to ask ourselves. How are we using this data? Are we using our numbers to justify what we want, or are we using the numbers to improve what we have?
Find a use for it.
Numbers have drastically changed over time in the measures that we do follow. And it's not that any of these three need to be excluded, but they work in connection with each other. Those internal numbers that you track on a daily or weekly basis, depending upon your volume. And the greatest example is utilities. If you wait to the end of the month to track your utility usage, your water usage, you could incur extremely significant cost if there is a leak somewhere, or a valve in a washer that's stuck in the open position and laundry is just running through. And there are automation features in production. I remember when I first entered the laundry industry about 20 years ago, tracking was done then on clipboards and tally sheets on how much production was produced in a day. Now those measures are automated by companies like Spindle. Realize they only came to this industry 15 years ago. So automated measures have come slowly, but they're there. And then there are benchmarks that reflect an overall operation. These aren't sets of data that you're going to use on a daily basis. These are high-level data that provide you with a good overview of your organization, where it's gone, where it's going, and what opportunities might be there that without the data, you wouldn't even be aware of, or you would be making an assumption and make a decision based on inaccurate data or the lack of data. This is one place where what you don't know can hurt you. Well, this is where LaundryMarks comes into the picture. You know, before LaundryMarks, we did have the Phillips report to thank for the industry's first benchmarks. However, as great a product as it was, the technology wasn't available or affordable at that time to have a more dynamic means of reporting and filtering data. You know, anytime I would hear someone quote from the Phillips report when comparing their operation, it was always followed by, but we have this, but we don't have this level of automation, or, but, you know, we're this type of laundry and it skews our data. Well, it's the best we had at the time. However, innovation has brought forth a platform that we use for LaundryMarks. It's one that our only limitation, honestly, is the number or the volume of laundries reporting. There are current filters that we can exclude or exclude to look at our data. We can look at, right now, we can look at and filter these sets of data in, or filter this sort of data out. Industry served, country, laundry type, whether they're for-profit or nonprofit, levels of automation, clean, pound, ship. And now we have some improvements in LaundryMarks. I'm anxious to show you some of those. What we changed, I think this is all good news. We have decreased the number of questions. We have utilized the data that most laundries track. We have increased the options for how you submit your data. We have shortened the time required for data entry. We've made the process much simpler. And for those of you who've already entered in LaundryMarks, we've even changed the dashboard so that when you take a look at it, it is a quick one-eye glance that will show you where you are. And we've added a couple of critical benchmarks, in fact, 2 just within the last week. Now, we did hold on to what was best. A, no cost for participation. Chris, I think we've got some bleed through. Thank you. So there's no cost for participation. There's no cost to run the benchmark reports. If you're a reporting laundry, you can run those reports every day, every week. You can filter them in any way you're allowed and run them as many times as you want. As more data is added to our data sets, it can change how you fall out. Then there's also security of data. That's been maintained. The anonymity in reporting, your data is protected and only you can see your data. And then our filtering capabilities, we've kept all of these. Let's look at, the security of our data is utilized, our data program, LaundryMarks. The platform it's on is one that's utilized by financial and economists. And we've got those built-in fail-safes that won't allow for reporting if the filtered data sets apply to less than 5 operations. So it keeps you safe. Let's look at a couple of key performance indicators. One of the things I want you to see is the savings in this. 120 questions down to 41 questions. We can now enter your data. You can download an Excel file, enter directly into the Excel file, and look at number 4 option. You can send that Excel file to the LaundryMarks program assistant, and she'll enter it for you. We've got a printable PDF. a PDF that you can choose your options and enter straight into it. Take that and send it to our LaundryMarks program assistant. She'll enter it for you. You can enter it yourself, or you can even have multiple people have access to your LaundryMarks data and allow finance to enter their information and production to enter theirs, and you'll be ready to go. The time that it took previously to enter all the questions we had took 70 to 90 minutes of data entry. Now, once a year, that's still not bad, but we have brought that down to 30 to 40 minutes just once a year. That's shorter than the time you spend in your dentist chair. It's simple. Also, our filtering capabilities are amazing. You know, we have healthcare, hospitality, and corrections laundries. We have industrial operations, cooperative laundries, commercial operations, all entering their data. And whether or not you're an OPL, that is a basic soil sort automation, or you're a laundry with a highly automated wash aisle, you can filter any of those. Now, all of those laundries are entering data, just like they did in the Phillips report. But now you don't have to, if you want to look at your operation in comparison to someone like you, and you have a basic soil sort automation and you've got a highly automated wash aisle operation, you can filter to be identical to you. And you know, you can filter these reports for, I want healthcare, and I want to look at cooperatives and centrals as compared to me. And I want to look at a semi-automated wash aisle. You're able to filter that. However, the security feature, if less than 5 laundries match your parameters, then that data will not be shown. Okay, I've kept you in suspension long enough. Let's look at a couple of key performance indicators available through LaundryMarks. The first one is that natural pounds per operator hour. Now, this is data out of LaundryMarks for our first full year of entry. Pounds per operator hour, ideally you want to be up there in that 75th percentile, but if you fall into the median, you know, okay, I'm about average. And those facilities operating at 84.17 pounds per operator hour need to look at their production, how that matches to their goals. Right now, we have the ability to filter this based on pounds processed. So if you only want to look at very small laundries or very large laundries, there's a sliding scale on the LaundryMarks filters that allows you to make those numbers exactly what you want them to be. So I want to look exactly at this. Run the filters and see how many results match your level of request. Then run your reports. You'll see where you fall and you'll see where the others fall. You can also filter by level of automation. If I only want to look at pounds per operator hour based on laundries with a semi-automated operation, I can do that. I can find myself, my laundry, see where it falls. And if it was on this scale, this is a general laundry report, not comparing one laundry. But if your laundry appeared in this area right between the 25th and the median percentile, it would appear as a green dot to show where you fall. Of course, you are the only one that can see that data. In the future, as we get more and more laundries participating in LaundryMarks, we'll be able to filter by geographical areas. You can select states or a number of states. So we're only limited by the information that we have. However, one thing you ask here, pounds per operator hour. So does that include at your laundry direct only? Or does that include direct and indirect labor? And who is direct labor? Does that include your maintenance personnel? Does indirect include your customer service person? And what about automation? What if my wash aisle is low touch? It's heavily automated. Struggles within the laundry industry may only be overcome over time, but now's the time to start, and LaundryMarks can help that collaboration. We looked outside of our industry to see how the manufacturing industry, which is the most closely tracked industry related to ours, where a manufacturer will take raw goods and turn into goods to be sold. We are looking at taking goods, manufactured goods that are processed for resale. So it's a little different, but it's the closest thing we've got. We reached out to an industry, to a benchmarking company, Harbor Results, that does benchmarking for the manufacturing industry. And, when I asked them about, what can you say is the most important thing that you learned about that industry as they started benchmarking? And she said it was the most critical thing to benchmarks is the value of uniformity and consistency. That's kind of a nice way of saying garbage in, garbage out. If you don't have consistent, uniform data, then your data analysis becomes less solid. Even if an industry can't come to a single standard, then everybody loses. If everybody is looking at a PPOH calculation differently, it makes it impossible to establish a benchmark and impossible for companies to look at where their performance lies. Here, another one, linen replacement cost per clean pound. Now we're very specific here. We track by clean pound on this instead of sole weight. Linen replacement cost. How does my operation compare to others for linen replacement cost? I think I'm pretty good. I've improved over last year, but benchmarking through LaundryMarks will give you data, kind of a sneak peek. What do others like me? How do they perform? So will improvements here in my customers' linen flow or utilization, will that decrease these costs? Because that's going to impact linen replacement costs. If linen is not flowing in the linen flow cycle appropriately, and clean linen's being held and not used in a linen storage area, and the laundry has to provide the same amount of clean linen each day, yet they're not getting back that amount, then they have to pull from their reserves and replace that linen, sending linen replacement cost up per pound. So is utilization here a solution? Or, looking at another report in LaundryMarks, your chemical cost per hundredweight. Is it my chemical cost that is perhaps, if I'm using too much chemicals, is that decreasing the linen life, therefore increasing my linen replacement cost? That is another factor. And with LaundryMarks, you can look at multiple factors with the same filters so you can tell where those problems might lie. Future filters that we might be able to add at some point. How do you pay for your chemicals? Do you pay for chemicals charged at cost per container, or are you on a guaranteed price per hundredweight? That might indicate a different usage of your chemicals. So is that impacting? We can always add information. There are costs where laundries may have less control than others, such as utility costs. You've got to pay what you've got to pay for gas in your area, for water in your area, and for electricity. Those controls aren't there. However, increased participation will allow greater filtering options. If you want, this is where comparing yourselves geographically will be of value. So selecting states that are paying about the same as you for gas and for gas buying. And we could add questions at some point as they relate to water. You can't control your water costs, but how do I compare against operations that are using water reclamation equipment? Maybe there are some savings that I can find there. But are there overall benchmark indicators like PPOH that the laundry needs to benchmark? Now I want to take you to someplace new. This is a question for laundries. How do you measure your profitability? Now, don't hop in and say I'm a nonprofit. Nonprofit is a tax status. You cannot continue to operate losing money. If you do, there will be options. I mean, you can't continue to do that. So how do you measure your profitability? You may not want to have a return to stakeholders or stockholders of a certain amount, but you've got to be profitable moving forward. What's the impact of growth, opportunity, and expansion for your laundry? Are you losing customers? Are there customers you can gain? How do you measure what you can take on? Do you add personnel or increase automation? Which is the best cost resource for you? And where is your ROI? And what's the impact of uncontrolled cost increases on your business? Most businesses look to two calculators there. Do we dare to look for our industry? Maybe more importantly, the question is, do we dare not look? What happens if we don't look at this? So we have two new benchmarks that we are releasing, and this is the first time this information has come out. The first one is production cost as a percent of total revenue. So what we have done here is we have factioned out some cost, your SG&A, your sales, your general and your administrative expenses have been moved out. Here, we're looking at just the cost of production. That direct labor is in here, administrative is not. Your utility cost is in here, but your marketing cost is not. So what we're looking here at percentage-wise, so compared to your revenue, how much is your production cost? These laundries in the 25th percentile, production cost is 44.73% of their total revenue, where at this end, they're looking at 62.51%. Then there's the flip side of that. Let's look at the SG&A cost as percent of revenue. Here, 25th percentile, 34.92%. These relate more to your fixed cost, the costs that aren't really going to change in response to increased volume or increased sales. So maintaining a good SG&A percentage of total revenue is very important. In times of financial difficulty, operating expenses can become an important focus for management when they're implementing cost controls. This would have been great information to have been able to compare to non-COVID, pre-COVID years versus our COVID outcomes, and then looking as we come out of that. Again, we looked at the manufacturing industry that most closely like laundry's remanufacturing. The median for SG&A manufacturing runs 29.55%, almost 10 percentage points less than what our industry was running. The service industry, 36.5 is their median. And here's healthcare, 48% is their median. Gracious, look at our 75th percentile is 49%. You can buy those reports. They'll cost you about $150 a piece, but they lump all manufacturing together. Why not generate specific industry data and LaundryMarks is free. We are limited, and our data is limited only by the number of laundries that submit that data. And the opportunities for benchmarks are limitless for future benchmarks. We can strengthen our industry by providing specific industry data instead of others having to look at us or us having to compare ourselves to somebody not quite like us. You can build and sustain high quality laundry operations. How many laundries can you name that in the past 5 years have sold, been closed, and those customers consolidated into another operation because the laundry operational cost got out of control? They didn't monitor those. Continued safety through limits on reporting small data sets. You don't have to worry about putting your data in and somebody being able to figure out who you are. They can't. A high security database platform. And most importantly, why wouldn't you give yourself more information at no cost? We're not asking for an investment. This is industry information ALM wants to provide for you for the betterment of your operation and the betterment of the industry.
Okay, if anyone has any questions, you can either send them in via the chat or you can unmute your microphone and ask.
That number I have. Well, I don't have a phone number for him. Okay.
So Linda, this is Chris, Christy. So,
hey, Chris.
Hey, Linda. So is LaundryMarks then available for someone like myself, a linen manager, who's wanting to understand maybe the local cost in the area? In other words, saying, geez, I wonder what the state of Michigan, is the laundries, what the laundry is what the medium range is for the cost of in the laundry. So that way, I know I'm not going to beat up the laundry saying, well, I want 30 cents a pound when I know through LaundryMarks that, the state of Michigan is, or maybe Midwest, the median price is 40 cents,
Yeah, absolutely. It will be available when the data sets are large enough geographically. We may have to initially look at reporting in segments that ALM can pull out or our database company can pull out because we can't see the laundry data. So, ask them to run reports on 4 quadrants of the US. Right now, that's about as close as we can get. What we've got to do because of that requirement for 5 data sets. So we've got to have 5 laundries reporting in your geographical area that you're looking at before you could get that data. And right now, geography isn't a filter that we've opened up. So all it would be is a filter. And yes, if you're a member, you could go in and run those reports, see those reports. So you couldn't see specific laundries, but you could see your reporting data for your area. So encourage your laundries to enter the data, so you won't have to, go in blind. And one of the things that I think they will be interested, you may be able to ask them right now, can you show me your participation in LaundryMarks and how you fall as in comparison to other laundries. And they can run that for you. Now it will not be per geography, it will be them per US. That's about by country is about as much as you can filter down right now. But
no, and that's fine. So are you guys, I'm thinking out loud here for a second with LaundryMarks. Would you guys consider allowing at some point, in a sense, the hospital side to say, here's my cost for processing, or if they're rental, here's my cost for rental, here's my cost for if they're COG, here's my cost for processing, here's my cost for replacement, so that we may be able to look at that kind of benchmarks also.
Right. And that is something that we did talk about when we initially started the development of LaundryMarks. That wouldn't be benchmarking the laundry processor. That would be benchmarking linen utilization or linen management on the hospital or the customer side. And it would require the customer entering data. So it's a possibility. It is just, we've bitten off a big bite right here. So for right now and the foreseeable future, it's not something that we can afford to underwrite. But I mean, it's a considerable
fine.
investment.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, that's fine. One last question, Linda. So if you're, as long as you're a member, you have access to LaundryMarks, or you're a member and you pay for LaundryMarks?
No, you don't pay for LaundryMarks. The only difference, and this is full transparency, Chris, if you are a member, you have, if a laundry is a member of ALM, whether you're a member or not, you can enter your data into LaundryMarks and you can get reports. However, if you are an ALM laundry entering in LaundryMarks, you're eventually going to have more filtering capability. So you'll be able to dig down to some filters that non-members won't have access to. That's the only thing, only difference. And you never pay for LaundryMarks. The extra filtering capability is provided for members. Did that make sense?
Makes sense. Hey, Linda, it's Liz. I don't have a question. I just want to say music to my ears. Being able to download an Excel spreadsheet, I mean, you know, and the time allotted being cut almost, you know, more than half is huge, especially when, you know, I was trying to gather information and enter for, you know, with hospitality included, it's like 40 laundries. So I for one, am thankful and appreciative, and this will speed up our process significantly. So thank you.
Well, Liz, in addition, for laundries that have multiple sites or multiple operations, we've even got one Excel spreadsheet that you can enter each laundry in a column, and you're only working with one spreadsheet.
Oh, wow. Hallelujah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Even better, even greater thanks.
Sure, sure. And one of our plans moving forward is to utilize participants within LaundryMarks to identify future benchmarks that they would like to see tracked or how they would like to see reporting offered. So we look forward to the growth of this program, but I think it is an investment in our industry that will be of great value. More information just makes better informed decisions, and LaundryMarks can do that. I thank you for your participation today, and if you have questions, just shoot them to us. You can email me at Linda, L-I-N-D-A-F, as in Fairbanks, at almnet.org. I'll be glad to get back with you as soon as I can. Thanks so much, everybody.